Side Out, coming to you live here from Bates Nursery and Garden Center in the Green Room Studios, both of which are situated inside Bates Hollow here right off of Whites Creek Pike. It's a glorious morning. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. Chicken was crowing across the way there this morning. But we're here for you. We're going to take your questions and talk about gardening inside or outside. Good morning, David Bates.
And good morning to you, Josh. And glad to see everyone out this morning on one more cold morning, but that's getting ready to change. Our week of cold temperatures they've just existed.
Yes.
And fortunately, we have not gotten the blizzard conditions that those on the extreme south of the U.S. have received. It's been a remarkable week weather-wise with respect to all those folks. But what we're going to have, and I'm sorry I can't get my board to come up here, but we'll just talk through the weather here today. Of course, it's Saturday, the 25th of January, and it's going to be partly cloudy conditions today, a high of 52 degrees. So it's
great,
pretty nice conditions considering what we've had for the last week. Tomorrow will be cloudy and 48, but as we roll on into next week, things start looking a lot more consistently nice. 48, 28 on Monday, 58, 42 on Tuesday with sunshine both days. A few clouds in the morning on Wednesday with afternoon sun, 59, 30. On Thursday, 49, 33. Friday, 53, 44. And this time next week, as we welcome in February, we will be looking at chance of showers, but that's a week away, so who knows? Yeah. I will tell you this right now, I had looked at the radar earlier. There's not a thing anywhere in the continental U.S.
Wow.
It's no precipitation out anywhere, and currently it's 25 degrees here in the Music City.
Yep, and it's great. Wouldn't you love to be in Mexico Beach, Florida, David? Wouldn't that be great to have white sand and white snow?
Would they get 6 inches of snow?
Yeah. That was, I think, 8 inches in New Orleans. I don't know that they got about 5 in Mexico Beach and some of the areas there.
I mean, that's just as mind-boggling to contemplate that. I mean, literally once in a lifetime, those kids will be telling their grandkids, well, when I was a kid, it snowed one time. That's unbelievable. So yeah, a strange weather week, and it's just the nature of
watching the golf carts slip and slide on 30A. It would be glorious to watch out there. Oh my goodness, who we got across the table, David?
Well, we're very fortunate today to have first and foremost, Tyler Blankenship across the way. Good morning, Tyler. If it were not for him, we wouldn't be on the air.
Because, good morning.
He's the guy that makes it all happen. But across the way, we've got Caroline Gant and Adam Chapman, the general manager, back in again today. So welcome in, guys. And it's Adam, I know on your part, there's been, we've had a couple of nights that you've had to make some special consideration.
Yes, we did have to run heat a couple of nights.
Thursday, my gosh, how cold did it get up here on Thursday night?
Well, I think it was Wednesday morning that was the coldest morning, and it was 2, 3. I can't.
Yes, it was 2 or 3 degrees. Yeah. So yeah, it got well down there for certain.
Yeah. So next week looks
glorious,
balmy compared to what we've just gone through. So, and I think that polar vortex just blew all the lows out of the United States. David's right. There's really nothing, because all that cold air just shoved everything out. So it's going to be a nice 5 days. I hope we get some rain this weekend. That would be nice.
Of course, as we talked about last week, it is a good idea for folks to be thinking about doing some watering following the big freeze. And it's particularly true with respect to raised planters or containers you may have out and about in your landscape areas.
Yeah, indeed. So just be aware, things are thawing out, and probably will need some water because, we got snow, but snow as far as actual liquid is not as much as it seems like, so when it melts. So
Yeah,
It takes about, I think, 10 or 12 inches of snow to make 1 inch
of rain. Yep.
Right. So, fortunately, or unfortunately, I should say, even if you have a rain gauge, you got to wait for it to warm up so you can even get any kind of a reasonable reading on that. Most of the equipment around the National Weather Service and all is all heated, so it kind of melts in real time. So they have a way to accurately discern how much precipitation we've gotten. But
they have heated
we
rain
really
gauges?
didn't get much.
Sounds
we
fancy.
got some
Yeah.
beforehand.
Oh, heated rain
And now it's
gauge.
time to consider that again. So, Caroline, how are things in your world today?
Great. Doing great. Houseplants, always warm in there. Although some of the houseplants we have in the greenhouse are a little bit sad. They still feel the temperatures, especially at night when it dips. It kind of fluctuates. But my world is primarily pottery right now. Y'all, we have gotten our first shipment of pottery in, and it is out on the shelves. Shout out to Adam Chapman's son, who came in and helped me so much with it.
Yep.
And then Mac and Owen. We're really doing stuff with the pottery right now.
Looking good over there.
You even made us a pottery tent because it got so cold
It
outside.
was so cold that I got one of our old covers and put it all the way around where we normally keep the laurels, and that way we could have a heater in there so they could be comfortable. So,
What is the hot new color for 2025?
Probably natural colors, I would say.
Ah, you
Once
think
again,
the earth tones?
The earth tones, yeah.
Okay.
Not all that hot and not all that new, but reliable.
But it's going to fly off those shelves, Josh.
well, you would say they might actually be the original colors
of pottery,
of
the first
the
pottery that
whole
ever happened.
gamut of colors. Yeah, earth tones.
We should have gotten some video. We'll get some for next week because we're going to get another shipment in. But y'all get out here because the best pots are out on the shelves right now.
Yeah, they look good.
And that's what I get my workout in, pottery season. So it's been happening and it's been fun. But let's get into some questions because we did get quite a few this morning. The first one is about yarrow and lamb's ear. My favorite. Somebody's not in this room to talk crap about it now.
That's true. That's
so,
true.
unless you hate it, my yarrow and lamb's ear look pretty bad after our recent single temps. Is it salvageable? Yes. My yarrow's been in the ground since 2017. After the 2022 freeze, it really, really looked bad, and I thought I might have lost it. But it came back stronger and even better. And yarrow, that one is, safe underground. It's going to come right back up in the spring. I would not be worried about that at all.
No, just, same old thing. Just prune out all the stuff that's brown and mushy and
Squishy and
that's one thing I kind of
slimy.
do like about lamb's ear. I mean, as much as it isn't pretty when it gets really wet or gets really cold and it turns brown and mushy, that dries out so quickly. Once we don't have rain, just within a matter of a couple days, it gets dry and crispy. Then you can just reach your hands in there. It's very not fulfilling is the cathartic. Yeah, to just pull it all out. And then it looks really pretty. And while you're doing it, you can, caress the new growth that's so soft, hence the name lamb's ear.
Sure.
I love that plant so much. It's one of my favorites. What do you think about it?
Lamb's ear?
Yep. I don't know your thoughts on it, so I'm interested to see.
I prefer lamb chops, actually.
I'm neutral.
You're neutral. You wouldn't plant it in your garden, but you don't hate it.
They're condescending. So I'm neutral.
I was like, how so? I have a grove of it now. I planted one little 4-inch pot 2017, and now it's like a huge space that has prickly pear growing in the middle of it. Ooh. It's a really pretty look. I'm a big fan. All right, let's move to another question, though. What is a pretty flower to plant in a small bed under a dwarf Japanese blood maple? It is a sunny spot.
Goblin flower is good.
Goblin flower?
Yeah, goblin blanket flower.
Oh, I've never heard it called a goblin flower before.
Well, goblin I think is the variety of it.
Oh,
I know
gotcha.
I have some under it's not under Japanese maple, but it's under a panicle hydrangea I have quickfire, and it's
bet
it's done
that's a
great.
good look. Yeah,
it's awesome.
I've got windflower under one of my Katsura Japanese maple that is in full sun. It does get a little bit tall when it flowers. So
well, that's what I've enjoyed about the blanket flower or the Gaillardia, which is the
correct
genus, is that it kind of mounds up. It doesn't really get too tall. So I've kind of enjoyed that, and those things have been run over. They're just so tough.
You know what would be nice too? I have Bath's Pink.
Dianthus is
Dianthus,
good.
Yeah. And right now it looks great.
Yeah, because it's evergreen.
Year round, it looks fantastic. That would give you like a little bit of ground cover. It's like a silvery blue color to offset that red and that bark on that tree, and then you get light little pink blooms in the spring and summer. How about y'all on the other side of the table? Y'all are quiet over there. What do you think?
Y'all seem to have it covered pretty well.
Would shamrocks work there?
That would oxalis.
Yeah, oxalis
they like a little bit of shade though.
Yeah,
so
might prefer it.
If there's not too much of a canopy over it right now, it might burn them out a little bit. I love oxalis though, like the purpley red one that we get in here. Mwah,
what I like about oxalis is I learned about it in my weeds class in college.
Did you know?
Well, one man's weeds, another man's wildflower.
Very true.
Come on.
Any plant it's in your yard you don't want is a weed.
But when the shamrocks are happy and they're in particularly early part of the spring.
Oh, sure, they look great. Yeah,
gorgeous. So
yes, stunning. And we're about to get them here at the nursery.
Yes, we are.
People are already calling to ask about them. I'm sure they will be here very, very soon. All right, looking for a columnar evergreen foundation planting that can tolerate full sun. Will a sky pencil holly work?
Yes, question mark. It is a Crenata holly, so I'm always suspicious
Why?
of Crenatas. What I would go with more so is one of the Ilex Reserve newer varieties like Castle Wall and Castle Spire. I think they would be a much better plant. I think they're prettier. The leaves are this dark greenish blue.
They are really pretty.
Seem to be less susceptible to leaf blight and other fungal issues that Japanese hollies are notoriously bad about.
Yes.
And if you've got an upright holly and it has defoliated around the base, it kind of defeats the purpose, and there's no way to get it to refoliate except to cut it back severely, which makes it not tall anymore. So
or columnar.
So that's my full sun.
Cents.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Are you guys ready for another one?
Oh, sure.
Let's keep them coming. Ideas for evergreen ground cover under hackberry trees.
Well, I would say Vinca minor would be my probably go-to just because it's so tough and evergreen and it blooms. And the one good thing about it is it does not climb. So
it's not going to get up on those hackberries.
Yeah, while it is not as invasive as something like
ivy,
Heterohelix, like ivy, or winter creeper, it is just as tough and just as tenacious. So I can. There's all kinds of it in stands that I've seen. It's just very, very tough, evergreen and blooms. So that's the ground cover I would recommend.
I like that. I made the mistake of planting ivy. Okay, this is a good example of an early gardener mistake. When I bought my house in 2017, there was a little redbud tree, and it wasn't doing well. Now that I'm looking back, it was on its way out. And I was like, I'm going to put a little garden bed around it. So I piled up rocks, put a bunch of soil around the base of the tree, and planted ivy in it. The tree died. It fell over because I piled it up too high.
And you killed it.
The ivy started to take over. And you know how I got rid of it? I set a hot fire on top of it, and I did get rid of it. Burned it all away.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
I wasn't sure if it would work, but it did.
Made that same mistake at a house that we had before we had the current one. I planted it against a cedar picket fence.
Oh, it's going to go all over it.
It's
going to pull it down.
Well, the cedar fence is no longer there.
I was gonna say,
but the ivy has taken over the back part of the yard
Yeah.
that is there.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame, David. You move out of a house, you got the best looking one in the neighborhood, and then people just
it happens. And,
Yes.
but what that creates is an opportunity to improve your next home. And you and Diana have done a wonderful job. I will say that you've done a wonderful job under very strict supervision.
Well, again, I'm merely the labor. So, I mean,
The ability to take direction, and you don't.
I'm
you don't
very
have to
coachable. Yes.
You don't have to be cheerful about it. You can just accept it. And, I think that going with it is clearly the better way to go.
Yeah, no sweat. It's just some plants, man. Let's move on.
Correct. Correct. There are other fields of battle that are out there.
You kind of got to
you got to pick your battles. Yes.
pick your spot.
We got a great question on YouTube from Jane Ann Gibbs. Good morning, Jane.
Morning.
Jane is asking, does the nursery think it will receive any of the new glow-in-the-dark petunias this year? I think maybe.
I'd say almost certainly.
Yep.
Yeah. I've heard some rumblings. I've heard some whispers. Maybe even seen a glimpse of it in the dark.
I have taken one into the bathroom here. And
Oh, really?
saw it glow.
Nice.
It's
now, I mean, do we know how they did that? Did they splice it with like luminescent
Jellyfish.
I'm going to say they
It's
took
jellyfish
bioluminescent,
Yeah, jellyfish.
algae or something like that.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Found the gene. Of course, all of that is, I think, a direct derivative of CRISPR and those kinds of tools that we now have available in the genetic toolbox. And being able to incorporate attributes that would not normally exhibit in one species to another.
Do they grow seed pods that make clones of you that don't you lose your mind?
Technically, it's probably possible, Josh.
I don't know.
That's kind of horrifying in both your and my case if there were clones of
us? Yes.
somewhere in future generations.
Oh, I like that. But that is the petunia. I mean, I'm excited about them coming in. They are going to be a little bit pricey, but well worth it. They do glow in the dark. It's not as bright as you think it'll be. You've got to be in a place that's real dark is the thing. So if you've got a lot of street lights,
so I would think unless you live way out in the country, like someone at this table,
like someone right here,
you'll have to grab some kind of dark cover and cover yourself and the flowers and go, even at night to be able to see it. Yeah.
Go under.
So if you hit them with a black light, what happens? Do they glow even
They
more?
probably would glow then, for sure.
Yeah. So put some black light, install black lights in your garden for nighttime?
Sure. That's the new thing. That's going to be the new thing now.
Black back lighting. To the 90s. Yes.
Called it.
Bring it back.
Yep.
There you go.
Did you?
He did.
Oh.
Just now.
Like, how did you
I'm just calling out his call out.
David had one in his bedroom, didn't you? You and Mark had one in your bedroom.
We had that and posters.
Yes.
And,
Lava lamp.
I had that. Yeah.
A whole bit. But
if you were going to grow fluorescent petunias, what's the best thing to start them with, David Bates?
Well, in my way of thinking, you got to start off with getting the soil right. And if you don't use Earth Mix Garden products, you're leaving a lot of things to question. Earth Mix Garden products, we developed that with one thing in mind, to take the work out of gardening and increase the success rate of gardeners who might not be master gardeners, might just be people who are really taking their first foray into gardening. And if you want to do the very best you can do with gardening, you must insist on Earth Mix Garden products. Earth Mix Garden products have only the finest organic ingredients readily available in the area. Things that such as finely ground composted pine bark, leaf compost, softwood compost, mushroom compost, earthworm castings, and then we add such additional organic inputs such as flowable elemental sulfur, endomycorrhiza fungi, humic acid, and give them enough time to be blended and composted properly. And what you get when you do all those things is we get a product that we call Earth Mix Supernatural. And Supernatural is a outstanding product on its own, particularly for those who are interested in getting the best results out of their organic garden. I'm speaking in terms of vegetable gardens specifically, although it works in any landscape situation. Supernatural is a great product in and of itself. It is also tremendous input into several other products downstream, including Earth Mix Garden and Earth Mix Proganics O. So one thing you can be assured of, no matter which products you're choosing, Earth Mix Garden products uses these same organic values, and not just organic. Organic is a good term, but it doesn't mean that it gives you prolific and highly productive soil. That's the Earth Mix edge. So no matter where you go to get it, you will find the Earth Mix Garden products will give you great results. And if you go over to the website earthmix.net and click on the Find Earthmix tab at the top right, you will see that there are a plethora of pins predominantly around the eastern U.S., up into throughout Kentucky and Tennessee, but also into northern Alabama, western North Carolina, and we're expanding on out to areas well beyond, out into Idaho, and also coming this spring into Colorado. So we're bringing the products to you. You can scroll on down the page if you wish to find out listings by area. So don't be hesitant to check those out to get a list of the vendors and the products that they have near you. Just remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use EarthMix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a couple of minutes to talk about that and to help take the work and add to the success of your gardening efforts.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yeah, and if your local independent garden center doesn't have it, the dealer inquiries tab up there is something you can, and they can get it if they ask sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And they should. Are you ready for something?
Are you?
Did you prepare?
I was born ready.
Oh. Hit it, Tyler.
Like I said, the goat.
Well, it didn't take much thinking this morning. I'm going to go with another goat of mine because it's not just because it's native, but that's one of the reasons.
Oh, I love a good native.
Serviceberry.
Ah, yes. I did know that was one of yours.
The goat of flowering trees, and I think, my opinion.
Why?
Obviously, this is subjective.
Because you make the best dessert out of the berries, and you bring it to us every year.
It's just another reason. I mean, there's so many reasons.
Nothing like serviceberry muffins.
Muffins or cobbler.
You're going to have to make it for all of our listeners
cake,
now.
Or I still have 3 gallons in my freezer from last year.
How many bushes?
I have 3 trees that are 2 that are really, really mature and bear very well. And so, the goat part of it is it's native, number one. So it is, it has, spent thousands of years adapting to Tennessee, which means that unlike, say, a flowering magnolia, deciduous magnolia that are from Asia or wherever, our serviceberries, they kind of know that the weather around here is schizophrenic.
A little bit wild.
And so I've had my serviceberries in full bloom and kind of a little worried the first few times it happened where we would have a late freeze and they're in full bloom. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get any berries, whatever. No, they're fine.
Wow.
As long as it doesn't get below, say, 24 or 20, even when they're in bloom, they seem to be fine. I didn't lose anything. So, and that's because they evolved here in those kinds of conditions. So, you get the blooms, you get the berries, you get the fall color.
You get the birds.
The birds love them.
Squirrels.
Yeah. Now, my key is, I know I'm going to get the question, I always get the question, which is great. It's a good question. How do I keep the critters off of them? Well, my philosophy is you have to grow enough for both you and the critters.
I love that philosophy.
That's a good idea.
So you just, you can do netting, you can do all this other stuff, but it's just have enough for everybody.
Just give them their own tree.
Mature trees?
How big are they?
Yeah. Diameter.
Well, I have a multi-trunk and a single trunk. The single trunk is probably 15 years old now, and it is 15-ish foot tall, maybe close to 20 now, and probably about that wide too. Single trunk. Now the multi-trunk actually, that one is a Autumn Brilliance, which I think is the most commonly used variety, which is fine. But I had one in the back before we got our dog Roxy, and it was multi-trunked Autumn Brilliance. Well, she ate it to the ground.
Oh.
But
how big was it?
What you're telling us is that dogs like service berries.
Yes, apparently. Well, it came back from the rootstock, which is, I think, downy serviceberry. It's not, the same. exactly the same thing, but it's multi-trunk and it's even bigger. It's probably 25 foot tall.
Wow.
It's so big that I can't get all the berries. I literally can't get them all.
So the birds eat
So
the
the
ones
birds
on
get them
top.
all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
All right.
so anyway,
You're
that's
so
my,
good to nature and critters. Look at you.
I try to be.
What kind of dog?
She looks like a giant Jack Russell, but I think she's a pit something
Got
mix.
some lab in it. Yeah, it's got to have some
That's
lab.
cute.
So yeah, but she's old now.
Serviceberry. How old is she? She's an old lady?
Yeah,
she's an old timer?
She'll be 12 this year.
Oh, that's how old one of my dogs is. He's a little pity mix. He's the best.
That went by fast.
Yeah, it did.
Dogs are the best. So Serviceberry, everybody needs one. I don't have one. Need to get one.
Come on.
I know.
What is
Out of
going
all
on
the
here?
plants I have, there's not a service. Well, I'm just waiting for someone to gift me one. That's why.
All right. Hint, hint.
There it is.
Wink,
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Hey, Joyce says, I just got an 8-foot tall multi-stem serviceberry. Can't wait for spring. Good morning,
Awesome.
Joyce. Good to hear from you.
Congratulations. Good morning. And that is epic.
Yeah, I have been wanting one for a little while now. After
Well,
Tyler
yeah,
and I stood back and
serviceberry-
ate some one day. It was great.
You know,
Well,
as Adam's already mentioned, a serviceberry really ticks a lot of boxes as far as it has a great edible quality.
And flowers.
Flowers,
fruit.
fall color. The only thing I will say as an addendum, so everybody, doesn't get let down, is depending on how bad cedar apple rust is, your fall color will be affected, and your berries could be affected. It kind of depends on when, the weather and weather patterns and all that. But because they are in the same family, they're not the same genus, obviously, but they're in the same family. They're very closely related to apples, so they're susceptible to cedar apple rust. So,
oh, that is good to know.
Yes, it is.
just
And
be warned.
we did get a question about serviceberry this morning. Advice on cutting back a serviceberry. It got huge.
Well, I know your pain there.
Yours is 25
now
feet tall.
they bloom on last year's growth, so whatever pruning you do, I would prune it, now while it's dormant. I mean, it's easier to see where you need to prune. It's it's the plant's gonna weather a heavy pruning a lot better this time of year. So I would do it now, and don't worry too much about. You're going to lose some if you're even growing it for berries, you're going to lose some production. But just kind of, it's the same thing with any fruiting tree. It's just going to happen. So, and then I don't do this because they're so huge, and I've just learned to deal with it. But if you wanted to get a handle on cedar apple rust, you could hit them with some dormant oil. Right now, mine are so huge, I don't have a way to get to the tops of them. So.
Very good.
So you just let them go.
Yeah, just let them go. Yeah.
Love it. Well, that's a perfect goat plant.
Thank you.
Clapping for
Goat,
you
bravo,
and
bravo,
the
bravo.
plant.
Yes.
All right, we've gotten a lot of live questions in, so let's get to some of those. Connie says, good morning. I have a question. We have a group of hackberry trees that seem to shed a dark substance on all the plant leaves below. Is there anything we can do, or should we just give up trying to plant anything underneath them?
Well, that is, I'm sure we've talked about it on the show before.
Oh, yes.
That is from aphids.
And will again.
Yes.
And again
so
and
the
again.
black stuff is not actually from the aphids. It is what grows on the aphid poop. So really the only way to get rid of the black substance, I mean, you can spray it only with a fungicide or something, I guess. But
It doesn't work.
it doesn't really work. I mean, it'll kill it, but it's going to stay on the leaf.
Right.
So.
Right.
It's called
So-
sooty mold.
Yes. So, you've got to either get rid of the aphids somehow on the hackberries or get rid of the hackberries.
And a group
I
of
love the reference that we give from an entomological standpoint is referred to as honeydew.
honeydew. Uh-huh.
It sounds kind of nice that way.
It does sound nice that way, but it's aphid
For
poop.
ants.
That's true. Yeah, there are little creatures that do like it.
Sure. Sure.
Sure. But that is something. I lived in a house that had a huge hackberry tree in it years ago. And I mean, it looked like it was snowing at certain times of the
Well,
year
yeah, those are the
because of
aphids.
all the aphids.
Oh, yeah.
And then everything underneath just got covered.
Well, we've gotten rid of some of them, but along the edge of the southern edge of the property here, we've got hackberries and
Everywhere.
and
Oh,
ba-
they're
well,
everywhere
back
here
in
in
the day when there was a
Tennessee.
lot more of them, and it was like a dry spring or something, because the aphids love it when it's dry because the plants are stressed. And it looked like it was snowing out here.
Yeah,
it
it's
would
crazy.
Look like it's snowing.
I mean, it's kind of pretty in a way.
Well, it is, but our good old friend Drew Sullivan, there are systemics that you can use, but they are horribly, horribly expensive from what we understand.
They are, and you have to be cautious because we don't really know what the effect of that chemical in the pollen is to bees and further down the chain. So,
imidacloprid is
that was the active ingredient.
Yeah,
yes, it's not even used in Europe at all for any application. So that gives you some clue that perhaps you might ought to go to a more organic route. And the dormant oil, although it's not an easy fix either, because you got to have a big boom sprayer to be able to reach the top of these hackberry trees. So there's not an easy way, unless you decide you just want to get rid of the hackberry trees.
You don't want to run down there and try to get a 55-gallon drum of dormant oil either. I don't know. Can you get those?
Well, it doesn't take that much, but because it has to be diluted quite a lot in water. But it's one of those things that it requires being done yearly. We're not quite at that time, but I'd say within the next couple of weeks we should be thinking about it. But it's not too early. Do you think so, Adam? You think it's too early to do that on trees, or is it about okay now? It's late enough. You don't want it to get washed off if it's on there too early.
As far as the oil goes,
yes,
I think it's fine. I mean, you may have to do a couple of applications,
and therein lies the difficulty, because you've got to have a professional service likely to come out and apply that for you.
Right. You definitely, it's definitely a timing issue. I mean, you don't want to wait too late. So I would say by the end of February, you need to have it done for sure if you're going to do it.
Which will be here before we know it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a shout out. We know you're out there. We can see you, but give us a shout.
We can see you.
Yeah,
we're watching.
Yes. Make sure when you type, when you type in the comments, use all caps, please. That's what Josh is saying.
Yeah. We need to really, really see it. All right, let's get back to some more live questions. We got one from Kim. Kim says, moles are so bad right now in our yard. What's the best option to get rid of them along with the traps we have? Will nematodes work?
Eventually.
That would work. What's that, David, what's that product that it's a worm or something you put in there? Yeah, Talprid, that's one. Another one
is another one. You got to be careful if you got pets, but I've always found out that we've always advocated a small terrier dog, haven't we, David? That's probably as effective as anything.
They do. And I used to have a cat.
Yes. Also, outdoor cat. Yep. That's we have one lovely named Fluffy Butt. By
FB, huh?
By Rachel.
I was going to guess. Rachel must have named that. Mm-hmm.
He's the only working cat we have. We have another cat that's inside. He's a loafing. Don't get me started. Anyway, the outside cat, he has killed several moles, and he brings them over to the garden and just sets them. Hey,
here you go, Dad.
Look what I did.
Yeah. Okay.
So
But what you're trying to think of, Adam, and there are a couple of brands of these. They essentially look and mimic the look of a night crawler. And they're about the same size, and apparently they finally got, and there's more than one type of them that you strip out of a tray, and you take either a dowel rod or a piece of rebar, and you poke a hole in one end of a run. But here, to start off, to begin with, you walk the entire run down, because you don't want you want to be able to determine
where the
ends are. Then you go to one end and you poke a hole in it, and you put the bait in there that looks like this night crawler, and you stomp it down. And then you go to the opposite end and do the same thing, and they do work really well. All they have to eat is one.
Right.
Now, the downside is that they're quite expensive.
Yes.
They could cost like $50 for a tray of 10 of them. So that means like $10 per run. So somewhere along the line, you may be thinking, if they're so bad, I don't know if I can afford to invest this much into eradication. But if you put them in there properly, there's little chance that pets or other animals are going to get into them because really work on the nature of moles is that they can store no fat, no energy, and they have to eat constantly, literally 24 hours a day. They only sleep just minutes here and there. So because they have this voracious appetite, they will eat these things, and it will kill them.
And you need to get your neighbors involved in this too. Milky spore works good, but it takes some time.
It takes a couple of years for it to really work up. Yeah. Now, what I did when I got mine in my yard, I did nothing, and they went away eventually.
That's what I'm doing.
Because they, like David was saying, they eat. Now, do they leave destruction in their wake? Yes, but they do eventually go away. They're
just mammalian aerators. That's all.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, one of my dogs likes to just dig holes to look for him, but doesn't actually get them. So I have the moles and holes where they have been tunneling.
And muddy feet.
It is cute to watch her because she'll pounce and then dig and then stick her head in the hole. But,
I actually backed over one. I killed one backing into my driveway. The timing has to be perfect to do that. To be able to just back right in. He was crossing the driveway, and I didn't see him when I started back in, and when I backed in to pull into my garage, there was a dead mole right there in my driveway.
You took it out.
Magic.
Good work.
I don't know how to call them in, but there is that method, but it's a very low percentage success.
Yes.
You'd have to be driving in and out of your driveway quite often.
Yes.
All right, we got a live question in from Pam Eldridge. Good morning, Pam. Pam says, do you think I could torch milkweed and rid it from a place I have never planted. I have dug them up. I think it grows for miles. Milkweed, can Pam get rid of it by burning it? I mean, I have it. Mine stays a little contained, but they spread by seed.
Well, and you said you just said you burned some.
I burned my ivy. Yeah, I burned my ivy and got rid of it. But I feel like, if you burn it early before it sets seed, then.
Well, that's the biggest key with any weed is, well, one method would be, pre-emergent. If it does indeed, if it's an annual weed, then you can keep it from coming up that way. But then after that, you've got to make sure you get to it before it seeds again.
Yes,
so,
that's the thing. I love milkweed though, Pam.
I do too.
I'll come dig it all up.
Yeah.
It'll come right back.
Yeah, I mean, milkweed's, that's one of those, isn't it one of those that we plant for the butterflies? And
for the
all
butterflies.
That, yeah.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah. It's a great pollinator-friendly plant. It's a very important plant, actually, to have.
So what are
What
are we saying about Pam here? We're saying that
We're saying nothing bad about Pam. We would never.
Well, you said it. You said it was
well,
this
I
awesome
bet
plant.
It will take over. I have it, and it does spread. So if you planted it years ago, or if you bought a property that had it planted, or your home had it planted in their landscaping, it is going to spread. Because like I said, it does spread through seed. It has these huge seed pods that open, and then they blow everywhere.
Now, can it be confused with goldenrod?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean,
they have a pretty different look.
Yeah, different.
I mean, it could be, but
At
I
least
think Pam
butterflies
definitely
don't
knows her
confuse
plants. Yeah, butterflies do not confuse them.
No,
Nope.
they don't.
All right, one more live question. Sorry, I had to get back to my my questions. So Joan is asking, good morning, Joan. What is the best way to root Christmas cactus from a cutting? Just stick it in the dirt. Joan, it is so easy to root. When we get them in here at the nursery starting in November, usually when we open them, just from the transit, there's a lot of segments that have fallen off. So Sarah Bates and I, who is up with me in houseplants, we actually made our own Frankenstein pot of Christmas cactus cuttings. Now
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, Caroline. Do you ever have to allow them to lay out for a few days to callus over a little bit? I mean, because they need to not be at all juicy on the end when you stick them in the soil, correct?
Correct, yeah. So you can let them callus over for a few days with that plant is all it takes. So if it comes off at like the segment, usually it's already okay to stick it in the soil. That's when I'll go ahead and stick it. But if it's an actual cutting, like if you cut that segment in half, yes, you will want to let that callus over. And what will help kind of speed up the rooting process is you could use a rooting hormone. We have a powder here at the nursery that I've used, and it really does work, but you really don't need it. I mean, my Christmas cactus at home, when those segments will fall off, I will just stick it in that same pot and it'll root and keep growing.
That rule is pretty much
pretty
universal for all cacti, isn't it? I mean, where you're letting a callus off
for all cacti, especially like the big ones that retain a lot of moisture, that retain a lot of water. If you do take a cutting, those will take weeks to callus over, and you want to leave those in a dark, dry place and let them really harden off before you try to plant them, because they will rot very, very easily.
What if you wanted a
Josh,
Christmas
where
cactus?
we keep a lot of different kinds of plants?
Would that be 3810 Whites Creek
questions
pine?
about with all manner of different horticultural professionals? You have a clue about that?
It's 0.9 miles north of Briley Parkway at exit 19, isn't it? It's a place called
right.
Bates.
We're talking about Bates Nursery and Garden
yeah.
Center, where we are right at this moment. And this now in our 93rd year of business, which is unbelievable.
Yep.
Considering that I had been around for
93.
more than 60 of those years.
Okay. Is that all?
So I have somehow been the longest tenured person of the Bates lineage, but that's neither here nor there. What we're about is where we are right now. And if you're looking for plants, if you drive up, it might not at first glance appear that we've got anything, but just come on inside and you will see a different situation. We are able to transform our facility into a nearly fully indoor shopping experience. So if you're looking for shrubs or ground covers, perennials, tropicals over in Caroline's area, or anything else, we've got it inside the Batestream area, all connected from the checkout area all the way back through the what will be our annual area a little bit later on. If you're wanting trees or upright conifers or those kind of things, those are still outside. And I haven't noticed, Adam, have we got those stood back up and uncovered yet?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're all good there. And so you can come out, you can shop, you're going to get to see exactly what we have. And what we have is second to none, really. We carry a year-round selection that others simply can't and are not equipped to be able to handle. So we've got a great weather forecast coming up for the end of January. We invite you to come out and see us. We're going to be here today from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. That's our typical winter hours on Saturday. We're closed on Sundays right now, but we're open from 9 until 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Come out and see us. We are soon, and I talked with Julie, who, by the way, Julie Patterson, our goddess of all things green. She is celebrated her 31st anniversary with Bates Nursery and Garden Center yesterday. So thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
She was one of those driving forces behind what we do here. We simply could not do what we do nearly as well without her being a part of it. Thank you. Thank you for multiple decades of, and anyone who's a longtime customer knows Julie, because we all know she's the go-to to get stuff. And if you like what we have, stop by and give Julie a big thank you, because she takes care of all that. So we're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway, or 9/10, whatever you want to say, Josh, depending on which exit ramp you get off
1.2 clicks, man.
Of just north of where the UPS facility is down the street. We're just minutes from anywhere from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And I promise you this, no matter where you're coming from, it is worth the drive.
Absolutely.
Even in the dead of winter in January. So come see us. We have the complete line of Earth Mix Garden products, and we want to invite you to check those out and give you the best opportunity for planting. One final thing, I do a newsletter here at Bates Nursery. It comes out on a weekly basis. And this week I did a post about a dear friend, Greg Worley, who was a delivery guy and a longtime friend of mine here at Bates Nursery and outside of work. And Greg passed away a decade ago. And he was just such a sweetheart guy. We all knew him and loved him. And I wrote in my newsletter, actually resubmitted a previously written article, and this is called Bittersweet Remembered. And
It's worth the read, folks.
Incredible experience. I'm not going to go back through all the details on that. I invite you to go over to batesnursery.com, go to the blog tab, and you'll see it right there. And this whole post talks about that experience I had where I got to be a small part of reuniting his half brother, whom he had never met, on the last day in the last hours of his life. So if you want to check out something that of the occurrence in my life I did not expect to happen, check out Bittersweet Remembered right on the Bates Nursery blog page. And thank you for tuning in and being a part of what we do here at Bates Nursery, where we proudly can say we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932, Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And thank you for giving us a couple of minutes here to talk about that and to help you in your gardening efforts. So there we go, Josh.
There you go. There you go. It was worth a read this week, folks. You need to sign up for the
very
newsletter.
much.
But hey, it's something going on in this
Something
around.
is happening.
What's in the room with Caroline?
Tyler's been so on it lately. All right. So I brought in a lot of things that have winter interest. So I've been walking around my landscaping and I almost like some of these plants that I have in the room better in the winter. I mean, once they start blooming in the spring, I'm going to change my mind and be like, why did I even say that? But they look really, really cool right now. So the one that I'm very much into, I don't have it, but I really love the look of it, is the climbing hydrangea. So the ones that I have in the corner behind David and myself. So you can see it's got really cool bark on it that's kind of like fluffing off, peeling. That's the word I was looking for.
It's similar to oak leaf hydrangea.
Correct, yes.
Exfoliating.
And it's got the buds on it too. So it has this very covered with buds. I mean, those are going to... The flowers on it are cute, but I feel like I like this look a lot better. If I had a brick home, I would definitely plant it and let it grow up the side. Unfortunately, it will rip the siding off of my house if I decide to put it on there.
They will climb any surface.
Any surface. But it's kind of a haunting look, so I'm a big fan of that. And then next to it, we've got some deciduous azaleas. So this is Phlox Pink that I brought in this morning. Let me show it off right here. So I've got some, I don't have this particular variety in my garden. Mine is, I think it's called Dancing Rabbit. But the buds on this, like I was talking about with this climbing hydrangea, just look so cool right now in contrast to everything being asleep right now. Nothing has leaves, but everything is covered in buds. Now, when I was going into the back greenhouse, which is where we have a lot of our shrubs right now, Ryan was back there and he saw me grabbing some deciduous azaleas and he was like, Caroline, let me show you some that we get in here. Get your hands off those. No, he was like, let me show you some that we get that are really, really hard to find, because I had some that are, pretty readily available at a lot of garden centers and maybe some big box stores. But this is one that not a lot of places have, and we do have a few in stock right now. It's a great time to plant it, I'd say. If you want to come on out and get it, maybe I need to get one. And then under the TV, this was a Ryan suggestion. Shout out to Ryan. He's fantastic.
Yes, he is.
We've got red twig dogwood and yellow twig dogwood. So we've got Winter's Canary, which is going to be the yellow one right in front. Look at that. Wow.
Naturally fluorescent.
Well, this is the only time they look good.
That is true, but I would say it's worth it. In the wintertime, to have like a little bit of color in your garden bed and your landscaping, I would say it's worth it. And then Ivory Halo is going to be the red twig dogwood that we have right here.
That one's a little different because I think it's variegated foliage.
The leaves
so
are
that's
variegated.
Got a little bit more in the spring and
It's
summer.
got the white on the outside of the leaves. But I mean, seeing like a little grove of this, I would say like by a sidewalk, if you plant a few of them in a grouping.
Now, one thing that you should be aware of about these red twigs and yellow twigs, they are native much further north than here.
Right.
Way further north. So they don't particularly like our summers, late summer in particular.
And that's when
but they live through it fine. They live through it fine. It's just don't buy them expecting them to look awesome.
Amazing all the time.
In the summer. They won't.
Well, I feel like a lot of plants do not look amazing all the time. And that is one thing with gardening that you do learn is your plant is not going to look perfect year round. I mean, some do.
If you want them to have the golden or red stems on them consistently, you're going to need to cut them back and allow that new growth to flush, because it's the first year growth that actually is red.
Once it
becomes multiple years old and woody, no longer has that color.
Yeah.
So,
and the good thing,
if they grow them commercially in nurseries in the field, they bush hog them every year. So that's kind of the key to making sure.
Yeah, and they don't care.
Like stems,
they like to be abused. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. All right, but let's go ahead and get to what's in front of us. So I brought in a lot of evergreens that have pretty bronzing, that kind of change color in the winter. Look at all that color, like in the very bottom of the TV. We've got reds, we've got purples, greens, orange, yellow. So let's talk about the one that's more red. So this is Lime Glow juniper. Doesn't look very limey right now. Nope. In the spring and the summer, that new growth is going to be more of a lime color. But in the winter, you get this bronzing that's like this reddish orange color. I almost like it better. Beautiful. Almost better.
Yep.
And then next to it, we've got Danica. Look at that. Adam, put your hand there. Be a Vanna. Let's show them where that is. Oh, right there. Oh, beautiful. Wow. So that's got more of a golden look. And then right above it.
As a hand model.
Correct. We've got blue rug juniper. I have this in some pots in my landscaping, and it's kind of trailing down in a way, and it turns so purple. Mine at my home is like a deep, deep purple right now, in contrast to some golden Pacific juniper that I have planted in ground in front of it. Next to it, we've got blue Pacific juniper, which is going to be right here. So that's going to stay obviously a little bit more blue and green. And behind it is going to be blue star juniper. So we've got a lot of low growing junipers that you can plant in your landscaping. I love these. Like I said, I've got golden Pacific juniper. That one stays really clean. And this time of year, it's so yellow and orange. I just love it. And then
one thing you notice is that not all blues are the same blue.
That's right.
The shot that we just had there, it's indicative of how different the blues can be from one type of conifer to the next.
So many different shades. And then these sticks that have been sticking up throughout the broadcast. This is going to be witch hazel. So if you look down low, you can see it actually blooming. So in our area where this is a little bit warmer than it is outside. So we do have a few things that are starting to bloom, but this is one of the earliest bloomers that you get to tell you spring is here. Spring is at our doorstep. So I love witch hazel. I wouldn't call the bloom subtle. It's just very small. But when you get close to it and look at it, there's so much going on. There's so much color in it. There's nothing that blooms like this.
Well, when you get a large one like the native witch hazel, it's like a small tree.
That's the one I have.
When they're in bloom, it adds up, and it's pretty stunning when you see them. So.
And then our feature plant that I've got on our hot plate, our lazy Susan, if I can even say that word, is Eastern Snowball viburnum. So I was looking at my popcorn viburnum that I have, and I really like how, like I talked about with these plants behind us, the buds just look so cool that you can see them with all the leaves off of that plant. So this is our feature plant today. I love viburnum. I have a lot of different types in my landscaping. I have one that still has its leaves on it, and it smells really good when it does flower. So look at it. Look at it spin.
On the witch hazel, the one that I have has beautiful fall color.
Oh yeah. That's the other side of them. Yeah, their fall color's pretty amazing. One thing that honorable mention I'll say in the vein with the like you're saying with the buds and everything, is blueberries have beautiful like pink buds, and the stems are even reddish. So
my blueberries look great.
Another honorable mention for winter interest.
Fantastic, and just a great all-around plant. Hey, Joyce is asking, where is the Edgeworthia, Caroline? Funny you ask that. We have some here. We have 4 actually that look fantastic.
Yep.
I wanted to bring one in, but they were not the right size to fit in the green room in the spaces that we have. But if we're talking about buds on plants in the winter, Edgeworthia is probably my favorite. They're like very budded up this time of year with really, it's a cluster of buds that face down and just look so pretty. You can actually see them from the road because they're like white and just, there's nothing like them. Yep. So yes, great question, Joyce. I did look at the Edgeworthia, but I was unable to fit it in the room. But thank you all for going on this tour with me this morning. Let's get back to some questions.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're so very welcome. All right, so we've got a follow-up from Pam about that milkweed. Pam says, I love the milkweed and I love the butterflies too. I have it in several places. It's just in a really bad location and needs to go away. I'll be happy for you to come dig it up. Pam, maybe we need to talk and I'll come dig a lot up. Sure. I could always use more.
I wonder if she has a stirrup hoe. Because that would be very effective about getting it. Just as you see it coming along, just as you see it coming up out of the ground, just go ahead and just
get it out of there. Yep. Yeah. There are some things, once you plant them, they're so hard to get out. And then Joyce, a follow-up to the moles, says, someone told me that juicy fruit gum works for moles. I haven't tried it. And then a follow-up, they eat it and can't digest it.
Yeah, but chiclets are better.
Sad.
Chiclets are much better. Yeah.
Double mint. Yeah.
Chiclets. Yeah.
Juicy fruit's great, though.
Doesn't work.
Well,
they don't eat gum. They eat worms.
They eat worms.
The problem.
All right, and then Helen is asking, I am planning to top off one of my raised garden beds with earth mix garden, but would you recommend a combination of earth mix soils instead?
Supernatural.
Supernatural. Sure. If you want to actually add some soil as well, then mix some garden in there with it. Yeah. Yeah, but the supernatural.
The good thing about garden is that it has a blend of all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got supernatural in it.
Yeah. So.
But supernatural is just, it's like putting butter on the bread, folks.
Yes.
That's the way you go.
I love supernatural. Hey, we did get some photos, Tyler. Are we able to put them up?
Yeah.
In a minute. Hey, while he's doing that, Bill Hayes.
Like a desperate. Yeah.
I've got the photos.
Oh, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, Tyler.
Yep.
Show
Here we
them to
go.
us.
Okay.
And there it is. All right. So this first photo comes from Pam Eldridge. Pam says, Austin helped me pick out plants for a section of landscaping that needed reworking. With a little help from our grandchildren, we got them in the ground on this sunny day just in time for the rain tonight. This actually came in
wrong one.
about a week and a half ago.
All right, there we go.
And
Excellent.
before the frigid temperatures arriving next week, which was last week. Always thankful for the Bates team of gardening experts.
We need some
Look
height
at those
there.
grandkids.
Yeah, look at them, but we need some height on that against that foundation.
It's gonna grow.
Yeah, I know
it's gonna grow,
we
Josh.
need a tree there, Pam.
Pam has so many. Pam's got a lot of trees. I think she's actually got a river birch around the side of her house. These are just new plantings, Josh.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go to that other picture that came up that we were like, oh, not right. All right, so this comes from Donna Brooks. Donna says, Coral Bark Japanese maple. Should I cut the dark pieces out now or wait to earlier in the spring? Tree is about 4 years old and has some damage from cicadas this past year.
I would go ahead and do it. There's no reason to wait. And like David was saying, same thing for these guys as far as they're similar to the red twig and yellow twig in that the newest growth has the most color. So, and by pruning, you're gonna encourage it to send up new shoots. So
they're probably dead anyway.
Any dead wood you want to get out, but
It'll snap.
Yeah, it'll let you know.
It'll snap.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we've got a What's in Bloom email that came in from one of our listeners, Daniel. Daniel sent in a picture of some hellebore that are blooming and says, I listen to the show every week. Just thought I'd send a couple pics for What's in Bloom segment.
There you go.
I'm located here in Middle Tennessee. That is gorgeous, Daniel.
Is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It looks like that pink frost, I think. Is what it looks like.
I had blooms at Christmas on mine.
Did you? Mine haven't bloomed yet. I mean, there's a lot of growth coming up, but no blooms just yet.
I ain't got no hellebore at my house. I need to.
What? I need serviceberry. You need hellebore. Yeah.
go.
We got to get to I can't buy anything else until I get some stuff in the ground.
Who am I kidding?
Hey, Bill Hayes, a.k.a. Buffalo, he bought 8 blue spruce and he hasn't planted them yet. First thing we want to know is why not?
Yeah.
Come on, Bill. Hoping this cold hasn't hurt them.
No. The spruces will be all right.
No.
This is their preferred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I've got
generally,
chill
spruce are
pots.
zone 2 hardy. Most of them are anyway. No worse than a 3.
He's a Packer fan, so
Even
that's
with
probably
the soil
why.
temperatures in. That's the danger of not having to plant it is that the soil temperatures have gone down much more dramatically because they're sitting in an unfamiliar environment called above ground.
Yep.
So, but even if you went down to 5 degrees or even 0, that soil temperature probably did not go down below 10 or 12. You're likely still okay. But if you
with
see
spruces,
some bad-looking, burnt-looking ends on it, it could be an indication of some root damage that occurred sitting on top of the ground.
Yeah, he's
So,
He's also a football fan, but yeah, it's going to be the Commanders, guys. Don't worry about this. I think everything's going to be okay. All right, folks. Music means that this edition of Gardening Inside Out is coming to a close.
Another quick one.
Yes, but next Saturday we'll come back here to Bates Hollow and Bates Nursery and Garden Center in the Green Room Studios to give you another hour of Gardening Inside Out. Hey, we appreciate your participation on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, and if you follow us out there, you can find it and like and share the post for everybody, because we love getting out there and getting our name and yours so we can get your questions in on Saturday mornings. Hey,
that's right.
See you next Saturday morning for Gardening Inside Out.